If your ex is remarrying, can you modify the custody? It's a good question. My name is Goldman. I'm the director and founder of Goldman and Associates. Our firm has a primary focus on family law issues here in Michigan. And today, we're going to continue our video series, which is designed to educate and inform the public. So please subscribe to our channel. The question about whether you can modify custody because your ex is remarrying is a really good question because as I've explained in other videos, and as is the law, custody, unlike a lot of things in your divorce, one of those things that the court can always take a look at again if there's a significant change in circumstances. So here you are, you're split up, the divorce is final. She has custody of your daughter. Great. You're parenting, you're co-parenting, whatever. Now she's getting married. The question, and you don't like that guy, and you don't want that guy raising your kid, and you don't want her calling that guy dad, and you don't want to be marginalized in the process, and you don't want her to forget about you, and 20 years down the road, you don't want that guy walking her down the aisle. Those are your concerns. Totally legitimate concerns. And you know darn well from knowing your ex that she will take steps to marginalize you and sort of replace you with her new husband. This is the scenario. What do you do about that? Can you file a motion to change custody based on the marriage? Well, I want to tell you one thing. Different judges can do different things, but you have to understand that the court has to be faced with a significant change in circumstances that in and of itself are reasons to revisit the custody. Remember, all those things that I said about you're going to be marginalized and the kid, you're not going to walk your kid down. Those are things about you. But when the court analyzes these things, what do they look at? Do they look about you? No, they don't. They look at what's in the best interest of the child, okay? So if the ex remarries, that in and of itself may not carry the day. Why not? Isn't it a significant change? Yeah, it is. But the court, when it grants a divorce, particularly for people of remarrying age, the court knows full well that it is a possibility that husband or wife might remarry. That is foreseeable. It is anticipated. And when the court makes the ruling of who gets the custody, the court's taking into account certain things. You know what they're taking into account? The kid's going to get older and going to have different needs. The kid's going to need to drive a car. The kid may, develop a medical condition that requires, a doctor's visits or hospitalization. Those are big changes too. They don't justify changing the custody. The court anticipates all this. A remarriage is foreseeable. Now, having said that, if the remarriage means that now your kid is going to be exposed to something that's not in their best interest, like, for example, if mom is remarrying and it's a committed, confirmed drug addict, okay. Now, but it's not about the remarriage at that point. It's about having your kid exposed to drugs. I get that. The court will probably get it too. The court will probably say, hang on a minute, I don't like this. You can do that, marry whoever you want, but, he's in rehab, she's drug addict and alcoholic. Marry whoever you want, but I'm granting the motion to change the custody or modifying it however the court sees fit. So, but notice what we just did. It's not because of the remarriage in and of itself, so much as it is about how those circumstances affect the child. And if they affect the child in a negative way, you can well expect the court to, say, hey, you know what, we ought to revisit this. Now, you're going to say, well, what if the marriage affects the child in a negative way? What if the child is distraught because dad is remarrying or mom is remarrying? What if the kid has coping mechanisms? You know what? That is probably something that the court will say, while interesting, it's like a kid getting sick. So take the kid to a therapist. Help the child with coping mechanisms. The kid's going to run into a lot of things in life that might require coping mechanisms. It's not something that we're necessarily in and of itself going to say, hey, therefore we're changing custody. These are things that you have to keep in mind. It's not about the parents so much as it is about the kids. And things that the court anticipates might very well happen are not likely in and of themselves to be looked at as sudden changes in circumstance. It is more likely to be something that the court will say, you know what, we're going to work with what we have. Having said that, if the marriage necessarily exposes the child to something dangerous or something could negatively impact the child, expect that the court will take a really close look at that and might even regard that as something for which custody should be revisited. If you have any questions about that, reach out. We're glad to help you out.